Hey guys, in this video I'll be covering the top 10 biggest upsets or surprises in bodybuilding history, a video that was fan recommended and I just had to make. If you guys have any ideas, please feel free to leave them in the comments because I read each one and often write down your suggestions for future use. To specify what I mean by the biggest upsets though, I'm talking about times where someone either dethroned the expected champ or just unexpectedly won, not really close calls where the reigning champion won despite not looking the best. Now, before we do dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to my partner, Old School Labs. If you guys are interested in high quality supplements like pre-workouts, stuff like that, you can use my code JakeUltimate or check out the link in the description down below. With that all being said, if you guys do enjoy these videos, a like and sub would be awesome. And without any further ado, let's get into this video. Alright, before we start out the video, I thought that it would only be right to start off with some honorable mentions. First up, we have Kai Green's win at the 2010 Arnold Classic that sparked plenty of debate between fans. At prejudging, Phil Heath was clearly sharper and more polished out of the two, leaving many convinced that he had it in the bag. That said, the finals did bring a surprising shift, as Kai Green stepped up his game and closed the gap significantly, while Phil seemed to, slightly fall off his peak. This wasn't an upset per se, as Kai earned the victory in my opinion by delivering when it mattered most at finals. However, it still is one of those controversial moments due to a majority of the high quality footage being from prejudging. However, I don't really think it deserves to be on the list, but you guys can argue with me down below. The final honorable mention that I have, and I'm sure there are many more, is the 1996 Florida Pro, a show that embodies the controversies of the 90s where politics seem to influence the placings more than they really should have. Now, for many, it seems as if the softer but more aesthetic Flex Wheeler beat a razor-sharp Ronnie Coleman, who is clearly the denser, more conditioned competitor on that stage. Looking back at it, Ronnie Coleman definitely had a better backside alone, with supremely developed hamstrings, glutes, and a back that was just insane, and was obviously leagues ahead of Flex in that aspect. While Flex's win wasn't entirely deserved, with some who were there claiming that he did deserve to win it, it's one of those shows where favoritism might have played a slight role, making it a perfect example of the judging inconsistencies during that era. The reason it's not on the list is because Ronnie wasn't perfect, being quite smaller and less refined when it comes to posing compared to, 1998. However, even so, his physique was definitely good enough to have won, and I do think that this is barely outside of the list. With the honorable mentions out of the way, we have the 2023 Mr. Olympia starting off the list. Now, Hadi Choopan came in as the defending champion, bringing the same trademark granite condition and dense muscle that had earned him the title in 2022. However, he wasn't at 100%. That said, a newcomer to the open division and the previous year's runner-up, Derek Lunsford, came in with an incredible structure, fuller muscle bellies, and a far improved back, making him especially challenging for Hadi. The controversy arose because Hadi arguably looked sharper, denser, and more complete, especially in areas like the legs and chest, and obviously in the arms when it came to separation. Though the show was close between the entire top three, Derek ultimately took the title, and it sparked more hate comments than I've ever seen in my life under his winning Instagram posts. Fans debated whether Derek's structural advantages outweighed Hadi's superior condition, with many believing the reigning champ was unfairly dethroned. Furthermore, Derek had many criticizing his weaknesses such as his under-detailed chest and arms, lackluster quads, and spotty condition at best in certain areas, leading many fans to believe he was unfit to have won. Overall, the result highlighted the subjective nature of bodybuilding judging, where aesthetics and size can sometimes overshadow condition, which seems to be the way the sport is currently headed. Despite the upset though, Derek's win was definitely historic, as he became the first former 212 Olympia winner to capture the Open title. However, this feat is often overshadowed by the controversial nature of the win. Up next is the 1984 Mr. Olympia, which marked the beginning of a new dynasty as Lee Haney captured his first Sandow and dethroned the defending champion Samir Banu. Coming off his legendary 1983 win, Samir was expected to repeat as champion, but many factors caused him to drop 5 entire places, landing in 6th place. Whether it was due to politics or noticeable regressions in his physique, having the reigning champion drop down 5 places is an upset in itself. That said, what makes this show even more of a surprise is that Lee Haney showed up with a size and structure that was revolutionizing the sport at the time, possessing the classic structure of the golden era with untouchable mass. At just 24 years of age, Haney was already miles ahead of the competition in terms of potential, and the result of this competition was a clear signal that the sport was evolving, favoring bigger and more balanced physiques over the more classic aesthetics of the 70s, I'd say. While Samir was still very impressive, no doubt, the sheer size disparity compared to Haney and others in that top 5 made the decision somewhat understandable. Fans were understandably shocked to see such a dominant champion lose his crown so quickly, as he had one of the best backs of all time and was one of the first to ever bring a really crisp condition to that backside, but few could really deny Haney's greatness. This win marked the start of an 8-year reign that would cement Lee Haney as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, as well as the end of one of the most unique Olympia champions ever in Samir Banu, leading to the 1984 Olympia landing in 9th on the list. In 8th place is the 2022 Mr. Olympia that was a monumental moment for bodybuilding as Hadi Choopan finally claimed the title after years of being the underdog. If you were following bodybuilding at the time, it was almost undisputed that Big Ramy was the overwhelming favorite, with many expecting him to secure his 3rd straight victory. That said, as fate would have it, Ramy shocked everyone in a bad way by showing up incredibly off, with notable issues in his lower body and overall presentation. Hadi, on the other hand, brought arguably the best Olympia package of his career, with razor-sharp condition and incredible density. Derek Lunsford in his open debut also surprised fans by taking 2nd place, showcasing a blend of aesthetics and size that solidified him as a future contender. 1st and 2nd being Hadi and Derek changed history at this show in my opinion, proving that former 212 bodybuilders, could compete and dominate in the open division, which I'm sure surprised many of us at the time. Additionally, Ramy's 5th place finish was one of the biggest shocks of the night, as he was completely overshadowed by the competition. The upset solidified Hadi as a true champion and reminded fans that consistency and condition can overcome pure mass alone. Hadi's win was also celebrated all around the world, particularly in Iran, where he literally became a national hero and had a statue made for him. The Olympia was filled with tons of shocking storylines and is easily one of the most crazy upsets in recent times, which is why it's on this list. In 7th place is the 2008 Mr. Olympia, where Dexter Jackson really shook the bodybuilding world by defeating Jay Cutler to win his first and only Sandow. Jay had been on an interesting career trajectory for the past 2 years, as his 2006 Olympia win was where he defeated Ronnie Coleman, but his 2007 Olympia win was where he narrowly beat the far sharper Victor Martinez in a very controversial manner. The uncertainty around Jay's ability to come in sharp and detailed left many fans skeptical on whether or not he could actually come back and win in 2008. However, I'm certain many fans still had him as the favorite. Come show day, Dexter, known as the Blade for a reason, brought flawless condition, incredible aesthetics, and unmatched balance to the stage. Unlike Dexter, Jay came in slightly better than 07, but still looked like he missed the conditioning mark, which left the door wide open for Dexter to claim the victory. That being said, fans were still split, as some believed that Jay's sheer size would still have been enough to retain the title, as was the case in 2007. Regardless, Dexter's win was still seen as a triumph for classic bodybuilding in terms of the look. Obviously, he's not a classic bodybuilder, showcasing that size isn't everything and that consistency and balance could still win. The result also reignited debates over what the Mr. Olympia title should represent at the time. Of course, Jay would come back stronger in 09 and wipe the field, but in 2008, he definitely didn't look that good, and this does remain a career-defining moment for Dexter, obviously. It was a rare instance where the underdog triumphed at the sport's highest level and upset one of the most influential champions of all time, which makes it a no-brainer on this list. Taking number 6 is the 1998 Mr. Olympia, one of the most memorable bodybuilding upsets of all time. This show marked the fast rise to dominance for Ronnie Coleman, as he shocked the world by defeating the heavy favorite Flex Wheeler. Coming to the show, Flex was seen as the clear frontrunner, having dominated earlier contests with his unmatched aesthetics and symmetry. With the reigning champion Dorian Yates out of the picture, almost everyone saw Flex as the next in line. Ronnie, on the other hand, had never placed higher than 6th at the Olympia and wasn't considered a true contender in many people's eyes. Yes, he had won some rather competitive shows during the 1998 season, leading up to that Olympia. However, many consider these shows trivial compared to the Olympia. That said, as many of us know, Ronnie showed up with unprecedented size, freaky condition, and a backside that redefined what it meant to be dominant. Flex, while undoubtedly incredible, lacked the density and sharpness needed to stand toe-to-toe with Ronnie. The victory was a seismic shift for the sport, as Ronnie would go on to win 8 consecutive Olympias and become one of the greatest, if not the greatest bodybuilders of all time. This whole show completely left fans in disbelief at how quickly Ronnie had ascended to the top, mainly due to his incredible transformation. It also highlighted the unpredictable nature of bodybuilding, where one show can change everything for a competitor. Overall, Ronnie's 1998 win is still regarded as the greatest upset, in my opinion, in the sport's history, and marked the start of the most dominant reign in bodybuilding. Next up is the 2006 Mr. Olympia, which signaled the end of Ronnie Coleman's incredible 8-year reign, as Jay Cutler finally dethroned the king. For some background, Ronnie had dominated the sport since 1998, which we just took a look at, becoming nearly untouchable with his unmatched size and condition. However, in 2006, Ronnie's physique began to show signs of wear, with noticeable imbalances particularly in the back, arms, and entire left side. Jay, who had been runner-up for 4 years in a row, came in larger than ever with improved condition and better aesthetics than Ronnie. Prejudging made it clear that the tide was turning, as Jay's balanced, detailed, and fresher-looking physique gained favor with the judges. While Ronnie still brought immense size, it wasn't enough to overshadow Jay's completeness, especially in the judges' eyes. Ultimately, the upset was monumental as fans had grown accustomed to Ronnie's dominance year after year, and many thought this reign would last longer. I will say that there was actually a strong case for Ronnie winning here, as he still showed significant size and tightened up at finals. However, by then the judges had made up their mind. All in all, Jay's victory symbolized persistence and hard work, as he had spent years chasing the elusive Sandow, and more importantly, Ronnie. This contest definitely remains one of the most significant moments in bodybuilding history, marking the end of one of the best eras and setting the groundwork for an incredible one to come. In fourth place is the 2018 Mr. Olympia, which saw Shawn Rhoden controversially defeat Phil Heath, ending Phil's 7-year reign as champion. Heading into the contest, Phil was obviously the heavy favorite, with many expecting him to tie Ronnie Coleman and Lee Haney's record of 8 Sandows, and quite possibly be the first open competitor to get, 9. However, Phil's midsection issues, which had been apparent in previous years, were even more pronounced this time around. That said, these issues hadn't really hindered his ability to win the title in the past, so many thought that it shouldn't be any different in 2018. This wasn't the case though, as Shawn was the perfect competitor to capitalize on this weakness by bringing one of the most aesthetic and balanced physiques in recent memory. His tight waist, sharp condition, and fluid posing really set him apart from Phil, whose lack of abdominal control became a focal point of criticism. Now, before anyone says anything, I know that Shawn also had sort of a gut, but come on, it was nowhere near Phil's, and definitely was not enough to cost him there. Now, this upset obviously shocked a lot of Phil Heath fans, as Phil's dominance had seemed unshakable for nearly a decade, with him beating incredible renditions of the best during his era. Overall, Shawn's victory was a clear win for aesthetics and proportion in an era that was completely dominated by size. Unfortunately, Shawn's reign was short-lived, making this victory even more unique in hindsight. All in all, the 2018 Olympia remains one of the most talked about upsets, as it was so close between Phil and Shawn and completely changed the course of bodybuilding criteria in the years that followed. Starting off the top 3, we have the 2002 GNC Show of Strength. This was an incredibly rare moment that stunned the bodybuilding world, since Gunther Schlierkamp defeated the reigning Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman. This show took place right after the 2002 Mr. Olympia, I think only a week after maybe, with Ronnie being fresh off of his 5th Olympia win. While he had been dominating the sport with his unparalleled size and condition, the 2002 Olympia proved to be a weak point of his career, as he was at his smallest in years and looked noticeably different from his usual massive self. Gunther, who had never been a serious contender for the major title, came in with arguably the best physique of his career at that 2002 Olympia, taking an upsetting 5th place, and at the Show of Strength he was arguably better. His combination of size, symmetry, and condition made him instantly a favorite, and he definitely managed to do what few thought was possible, which was beating Ronnie Coleman during his prime. This upset sent shockwaves through the bodybuilding community, as Ronnie's dominance had seemed untouchable. Many debated whether the judging panel was trying to make a statement due to Ronnie looking off at the Olympia, or if Gunter genuinely deserved to win. However, either way, the result solidified Gunter as one of the most beloved underdogs in the sport's history. Ronnie would obviously bounce back at the Olympia the following year, but this contest proved that even the greatest champions can have off days. In my opinion, the 2002 GNC Show of Strength remains as one of the most surprising upsets at a non-Olympia show, probably the most surprising upset at a non-Olympia show, and it marked Ronnie's historic loss as well, which only furthers its case for being so high up on the list. Okay, in second place is the 1980 Mr. Olympia, which is arguably the most controversial contest in bodybuilding history. This show had Arnold Schwarzenegger making a shocking comeback to claim the title, only mere hours before the contest was set to take place. After a 5-year hiatus, he returned to the stage, despite being noticeably smaller and less conditioned than in his prime. The lineup featured incredible competitors like Chris Dickerson, Frank Zane, and Mike Menser, to name a few, all of whom appeared to be in pretty good shape. Now, for the record, I don't think that anyone really knocked it out of the park here, with each competitor having some sort of flaw, which is why I can't call this show a robbery straight up. Although my opinion is obviously going to be controversial, I do believe that Arnold rightfully won on a physique basis, but shouldn't have been allowed to compete on such short notice, which in my opinion makes this show kind of rigged. This was very unsportsmanly and alone makes this one of the biggest upsets and surprises ever. There's no doubt that Arnold's legacy, status, charisma, all that stuff seemed to sway the judges as he was awarded the victory despite widespread disagreement. However, his physique was still massive, very imposing, and pieced together in the same way as it was in 1975, just smaller and, with worse legs. Ultimately, this contest sparked debates about judging fairness and favoritism that continues to this day, with this win remaining as a blemish on an otherwise very legendary career, as many felt it undermined the integrity of the sport. The 1980 Olympia not only serves as a reminder of the human element in bodybuilding judging, where subjectivity can overshadow objectivity, but also shows one of the first true upsets at the highest level, which is why this Olympia is so high up on the list. Rounding off the list in the first place spot is the 1981 Mr. Olympia. This show took controversy to a whole nother level, as Franco Columbu came back in a similar fashion to Arnold and claimed the title in what was widely considered to be the most debated victory of all time. Franco, who had been Arnold Schwarzenegger's training partner, returned after a 5-year hiatus from a significant injury and was set to compete against a pretty stacked lineup. While Franco's physique was very impressive, it was far from the best on stage, with glaring weaknesses in his legs, clear as day gyno, and generally compact, kind of underwhelming proportion. Competitors like Tom Platz and Danny Padilla were in far better shape with sharper condition and more complete physiques, with Platz taking 3rd and Padilla taking a surprising 5th. Many argue that these two should have been 1 and 2, since they easily had some of the most complete, refined, and almost futuristic physiques at the time. However, the judges ultimately decided to award Franco the title. This decision outraged fans and competitors alike, with many accusing the panel of blatant favoritism and straight-up political involvement. In my opinion, Tom Platz was the rightful winner, with his iconic leg development and polished presentation, along with his great condition and very solid aesthetics. This controversy further tarnished the credibility of the Olympia and sparked widespread calls to reform the judging system to prevent such an incident from occurring once again. Overall, the 1981 Olympia was filled with many surprises and upsets, to say the least, ranging from Platz and Padilla's placings to Franco's extremely debated win, which makes it the clear favorite in my mind for the first place on the list. Anyways guys, that about does it for the video. Please let me know in the comments your thoughts and opinions, and I do hope you all enjoyed. With that all being said, I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.